Oh, that felt like a pretty awesome intro. What's up, everybody? It's been a hot damn minute, hasn't it?
It has
Holy shit.
Holy shnikes.
Holy shnikes, it worked. What's up, everybody? Welcome back yet again to the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. I am Mac.
Indeed.
This beautiful, studly human fucking being over here, that's Alamo. Say hi, Alamo.
Hello, out there in internet land.
Greetings, infidels. That was a great line. That sounded like a good one. So
Man.
we've been off again. I had to take another work trip, and not unfortunately, but had to do what I had to do. So,
Yes.
That being said, we are now back. There will not be any more interruptions work trip wise through the end of the season. So thanks for sticking it out with us. Thanks for being here, because we fucking love you and we fucking missed you. So hey, yeah, all right.
Surely did.
So yeah, let's
Freaking do this thing.
There's been a lot of shit going on in the world the past months. So let's just get into this stuff. So if you happen to be following the show, whoa, stop. Let me rewind that. If it's your first time to the show, welcome. We hope you find something you like, whether it's his wittiness and goofy laugh, or it's just the fact that my head has its own gravitational pull, whatever. You might like the subject matter that we're talking about. That's cool too. Tell your friends. Just say, hey, these guys actually kind of sort of know what they're talking about, or at least they're doing a good job of faking the fucking funk. If you're coming back to the show, welcome back. We appreciate you sticking it out with us. Thank you for putting up with our nonsensical. There she is. Hey, Cynthia. What's up, girl?
Hi, sis.
Yeah, so we appreciate you just kind of sticking it out with us. Things come up, things happen. So, yeah. The last time that we were gracing y'all's presence on your mobile devices, laptops, maybe your YouTube app on your TV. Who knows? It's 2022. The Jetsons had it right. Oh, by the way, happy belated birthday to George Jetson, who was born July 31st of 2022.
Yeah.
Somewhere George Jetson's growing up. My question is, when are we going to get flying cars? But then I think to myself, holy shit, we live in Florida. It's probably a good idea we don't have flying cars, and traffic jams are just on the ground and not a three-dimensional mess in the freaking skies. So, yeah, that's a good thing. Anyway, so the last time we were on here, we discussed the topic of sarcasm and why it was prevalent in the military, why it just has become a part of my comical lexicon. When I am upset, I use a lot of sarcasm and jokes to mask a lot of different things in my life, and I'm sure Alamo does too.
Oh yeah.
So tonight we're gonna take a slightly different direction, and we're gonna talk about a topic that could go in a lot of different directions. We're gonna talk about adversity, okay, and we're gonna talk about how. Basically, we're gonna talk about what our experiences are in the military with this. And we're going to kind of talk about how that can affect your life and some things we can do to maybe come around that. Okay, so let's kind of delve into this. So since I've been gone for a month, and Alamo's been doing a fantastic job of posting some content while I've been gone, and pretty much just being like the guy said, I'm the captain now. This guy's been the captain, and he has no offense to the actor that played that dude, but he's got a much better smile, gorgeous teeth. And not so much of a dark, complexion and stuff, but you look at his teeth and you're like, oh, that guy, like, Jesus Christ, like it's kind of scary.
Yeah, Somali pirates, man.
Man.
A lot of those guys are not good.
Nothing against them.
Some of them are just trying to live.
And if you boil it down to that, I mean, that could be anybody in under any circumstances. So it is what it is. So, all right, so let's hit the ground running. So adversity. Not adversity, but like a town, but adversity. So adversity is defined as a state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. Okay. I'll read that again. A state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. Okay. So let's break that down a little bit further. What types of adversity are there? Okay. There are some people recognize that there are the source, at least that I found over here. There's 6 common types of adversity. Okay. You have physical adversity. I'm going to kind of give you a little brief description on each of these. So, physical adversity. Physical disability is an example of physical adversity. For example, a professional athlete may face physical adversity after experiencing a career ending injury, which drastically changes their life's trajectory. I automatically think of Joe Namath. I mean, that was
Yeah.
horrific, but thank God I've never seen it because I'd probably lose my lunch. But that ended his football career. Furthermore, being blind, deaf, wow. Being blind, deaf, obese, or in chronic pain and having to deal with the difficulties of those ailments may force someone to have to fight to achieve a normal life. Kind of like service members have to leave the army and their knees are going, hey, you remember all those times of jumping up off a gun truck wearing 50 pounds of gear and body armor and all that shit? Your knees are going, hey, buddy, guess what? We're on strike. Fuck you, kind of stuff. So, yeah. Physical adversity. Mental adversity. A mental problem or mental illness may limit someone. Seeking help from a doctor, psychologist, or psychiatrist can greatly improve one's life when dealing with mental adversity. Enhancing one's well being and achieving a normal life are the goals of seeking treatment. Now, let's stop and just tap the brakes just for un momentito here, folks. I kind of, having been in the behavioral health field myself for going on longer than 5 years, normal is kind of a word that I have strayed away from using. Okay.
I can understand that.
I would maybe say something along the lines of pseudotypical, because what's normal? Normal is kind of like what you make it. Normal, if you're growing up financially strapped, normal is having to maybe scrounge for food, raiding garbage cans to find a meal. So
Yeah.
we'll just take that with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Emotional adversity. Emotional maturity allows us to have a productive state of mind and face difficulties in life. Self-worth is vital to develop, as rage and sadness can lead to problems in dealing with daily life. We need to control our emotions so they do not control us. I mean, hey, let's face it, we're living in the 2020s right here. Yeah, well, that's anybody. It could be this guy as well. Just poke myself in the eyeball. It's great. Not really. Anyway,
that's awesome.
so here's this one I read and I was like, aha. Social adversity. Social interaction is crucial to human life. I will repeat that. Social interaction is crucial to human life.
Yes.
Being limited in social skills can severely limit a person from getting a job, making friends, or maintaining a family unit. Developing these skills can significantly improve one's life. I mean, we're just like monkeys and chimpanzees. There's a hierarchy, there is a social order. So if the chimps can do it, we should probably fucking try. So,
yeah.
All right. Spiritual adversity. Now, this one was interesting. Faith in a higher power does not have to be a god, but faith is an advantage in life. It helps when one has hope, compassion, and love for themselves and others to cope with daily life. I mean, let's face it. Like I said, it's 2022, for God's sakes. Whatever you want to call your God, Jesus, Allah, if maybe you're one of them old school guys who still believes in the Roman way of doing things, where there's a different God. It's a multi
polytheistic.
Thank you. Yeah, my dude. I'm so glad to have you back, Jesus.
That's what I'm there for.
Polytheistic.
Polytheistic.
Polytheist. We're gonna go with that. That word he said.
He's a polytheist.
They have a different god for different things. You have the Bacchus, the god of celebration, wine, and drunken orgies. Why not? Fuck it. Whatever. Like, believe in something. Even whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave that alone.
What we're trying what we're trying to get at, folks, is having a faith in some way, shape, or fashion is actually kind of paramount to the human condition. It's a way of grounding ourselves and preventing ourselves from, for lack of better terminology, losing our shit.
Cynthia, just like SAT words. Ugh. No, I don't necessarily like. I believe in a higher power. I don't know that I don't know what exactly you would call it, but I do believe in the Almighty God of karma.
I believe in the Almighty God Himself.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's great. We can agree to not even agree to disagree. We can just understand that we have different beliefs, and we can respect
Mhm.
that and
That's right.
move the fuck on. The last type of adversity, and this
All
is something
military
that
members come in all shapes, forms, and faiths.
absolutely true.
Yeah.
This last type of adversity is something that I'm sure everyone has faced at one point or another in their life: financial adversity. This may be the most apparent adversity that our society and the rest of the world faces. Not being able to afford necessities creates a barrier to leading a happy life and can lead to jealousy and anger.
Yep.
Okay. So there's all kind of different ways that things happen. And it's one of those things you don't want to go through it. You don't wish it on sometimes, but in small doses, like moderation, it can be kind of a good thing for you. So like I remember being in I'm not even gonna pull an Abe Simpson and back in my day. I'm not even gonna do that whole stuff. But I can just remember when I was in basic
I want
training.
to watch Matlock.
good to good to know Abe Simpson's still kicking there, buddy. Absolutely. Anyway, I can remember being a young adult, green
Mhm.
behind the ears, wet nose, all that kind of stuff, going to basic training and just the
Ooh,
adversity. Hold on.
foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. Yeah. Speaking of wet noses. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. I can remember being a young man and just the adversity of having to be in a new environment, having never been from home, not being the social butterfly that I am today. Um, just kind of not really being in a comfortable surrounding. It was very much like there was stress everywhere you turned. You had freaking 3 drill sergeants always up in your ass and in your face, just making life shit. You had, and especially for me being a very reserved, quiet guy, you had all these other guys that were there, like the jocks. And I'm not trying to paraphrase or typecast here, but just to kind of paint a picture, you had the guys that are kind of like jocks that wrestled or they played football or whatnot. And those are the guys that were going on to airborne, that were going on to ranger, maybe possibly going, there were 11 x-ray contracts, they were going special forces baby or whatever, that kind of shit. So it was very much, it was hard. And then I also had, while I was in basic training, I had a family member pass away that I wasn't super close with them, but like I was, it was somebody I knew. It was somebody that I, enjoyed spending time with and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, just the mental adversity of all that was a lot at times. And it's funny you mentioned religion, dude. I was not, you know, a religious person by nature. I never grew up around that. And my parents, my mom and dad, well, when my dad was alive, they would both say, it's like, that's the one thing that we regret, is not at least giving you that exposure to growing up with religion in your life, because my mom and dad were both Catholics. My dad was an altar boy. My mom grew up in a large family. She was, there was 7 kids altogether. Um, so yeah, like big Catholic family, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, having not been around that kind of stuff, it was kind of foreign. But I will say, what was nice is, going with some of the other guys, going to Catholic mass, um, while I was at boot camp, it kind of just gave you that little bit of like freaking spiritual kind of kick in the ass to help you get through another week of, you know, just training and going and exposing yourself to what you're going to go through and whatnot. So, I mean, it was kind of important. It was what I needed at the time. So,
I call it
what,
being filled with the word to move on.
yeah, what are your experiences about adversity from, the military there, Alamo?
Um, well, I mean, very obviously, going through basic training obviously is an adversity in itself. Um, so when you when you go through basic training, you're basically learning how to deal with high level stress, and you're having to do it in a group setting where not only are you dealing with competing beliefs and ideologies, you're dealing with competing intellect as well as individual personalities. So you're at this level of dealing with 50 million things at once on top of trying to come together with these guys that you don't know from Adam, and essentially trying to solve said problem, with, stressors going on around you, from drill sergeants yelling at you to setting off, simunition bombs and all types of crazy shit. So
Environmental adversity.
or environmental overstimulation. Um, by the way, it's a
Your sister is probably having her head explode right now. She's like,
I,
"What is with these two freaking knuckle dragging fucking idiots with the big words? Like, holy shit! You see these scars? Walking around like freaking apes and shit. Got the
Mhm.
silver haired gorilla right here. I mean,
well,
it's all good.
well, that's the thing is like
Sorry, Cynthia.
when you're dealing with it, like, I have ADHD, so and overstimulation can be either a blessing or a curse depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So um I'm just kind of saying it from from my side.
Sure.
It was definitely, especially with it, doubling down with ADHD. you know I can either be hyper focused as hell, or I can lose focus it
Squirrel.
super quick, because I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Oh yeah, I gotta concentrate on doing the rifle. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, what's going on over there? And you know,
I've seen you make that look
so you know,
before. That
it
shit's
kind of,
crazy. Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
hey,
You're
yes,
absolutely
yes,
right.
indeed. So the way I see it, from my perspective, I dealing with it from my perspective, with having the this, I'm not going to call it a disability or a condition or whatever, but having this um what's a good word? Hmm. Either way, ADHD, it can be overcome. You just have to learn how to work with. You have to learn how to work around your, uh, I guess you could say, your triggers. The things that get you to either like super focus or like break that focus. You know what I mean?
And coming from, being in the field of, my regular job as I work. If for those of you that don't know, I am a registered behavior technician and have been for the last 5 years or so, and I work in the field of applied behavior analysis. And um, I actually was having a wonderful conversation with somebody lately, talking about how, just kind of talking about the differences. And I'm sorry to interrupt, Alamo. I'm going somewhere
No,
with
no
this. I
worries.
promise. But you said, when you said triggers, I was talking to this young lady, and we were discussing like the differences of how, like, you have, just the different kind of mindsets. When our parents were doing all this stuff way back when, um, it was just, um, it was just the old school way of doing things. It's like, you need discipline. It's whatever. So, but now there's a
Or
lot
as
more.
Arnold would say,
Oh boy,
you lack discipline.
I've missed your movie, movie references here, pal. I'm so glad to be back. No, but and nowadays there's just so much more awareness and open knowledge about things that come related to mental health, and like
Yeah.
there's more common knowledge about autism and different behavioral disabilities and whatnot. So
Oh yeah.
it's funny you say triggers. A lot of times, like, you have people that don't realize that they're triggering other people, and it's just like
Yeah.
you're actually causing the problem, not trying to solve it. So sorry, that kind of just went somewhere
Exactly.
with that. But
Mhm.
so, but as you were saying, adversity, it's kind of important, because when you face adversity and you get through it, like I did with base training, my physical adversity was going down the freaking rappel tower. I don't like heights. Now I'm hanging off a 100-foot wooden structure, which probably sways a little bit when the wind gets going.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there looking down. I'm like, fuck, I really don't want to be here. Like,
Yeah.
that was one moment of pause. I mean, I'm sure you were just like, wee, just going down the tower and stuff. It's all
Oh
good, but
yeah.
like, that was a shit moment. So, what do we get when we face adversity head on and we get through the other side? We get resiliency,
Yep.
which is gonna segue into this little gem that I was talking
And
about
you
here.
callous your mind. You get those calluses on your mind, and you toughen it, and you toughen that.
Mental calluses.
Oh
I like
man.
that. That's speaking to me, bro. So let's talk about here. So we're gonna kind of read some excerpts from this source, another article that we're talking about. So, talking about resiliency, what military folk wisdom teaches us about adversity and resilience. The human, or I'm sorry, and try again. Take
Gotta
two
love the wind
and
swaying shit.
action. What?
She says, gotta love the wind swaying shit.
No, that's freaking sketchy as fuck, man. Most of the shit at Fort Benning was made in the 50s and shit. Like, no, that stuff ain't gotten any better.
Oh yeah.
Hot garbage is what that shit is. Anyway, I digress. The military provides fertile ground for understanding the full range of human response to trauma and adversity. Demanding training and frequent separations from loved ones are challenging even during times of peace. War, of course, presents added stressors. Palpable fear of death or significant injury,
Amen
the
to that.
death of debilitating wounds of fellow soldiers, the death or debilitating wounds of fellow soldiers, the moral challenges inherent in war, and prolonged absences from friends and family contribute to a profession and lifestyle that challenge the mental health of military members. The military recognizes the hardships its members endure and devotes considerable resources to support basic and applied psychological research on resilience. World War II spurred the expansion of clinical psychology. The unique circumstances of the Vietnam War contributed to the recognition of post traumatic stress disorder, more commonly known as PTSD, as a distinct psychological disorder. And the global war on terrorism has led to dramatic innovations in understanding and inculcating resilience in soldiers.
It,
What? Are you making fun of me?
today, Junior.
Shut up. I'm trying to read, okay? Just leave me alone. It's been a long day. The lessons learned in studying resilience in military settings are transferable to other dangerous and stressful professions. Firefighters and law enforcement officers face similar challenges. As a result of the pandemic, public awareness of the stress faced by healthcare professionals is more salient than ever.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Frontline
Bruh.
workers, grocery store employees, transportation employees, service workers now face stress, uncertainty, and the risk of serious illness or death just by doing their jobs. Now, perhaps more than ever, military research on resilience is relevant to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the name of the section. Sorry. The military, of course, has dealt with issues of adversity and trauma long before the discipline and profession of psychology emerged. Among the many lessons learned through hard experience are three sayings, each commonly heard in military, that may help non military people deal with adversity. This is one that's near and dear to Alamo and me. If it ain't raining, you ain't
You ain't
training.
training.
Field training, as opposed to classroom training, is vital in allowing soldiers to internalize the tactical and cognitive skills needed to optimize performance during real missions. A related axiom says that soldiers must train as they fight, meaning they must complete scheduled training regardless of the weather. Ask any soldier, and they will tell you that bad weather always seems to happen on scheduled field training days.
Sure in hell does.
Like fucking clockwork.
Yeah.
Inevitably, a non commissioned officer will remind soldiers that training under poor conditions is good because adversity during training builds competence in actual combat situations. Okay. Next one. There is no bad weather, only bad gear. Soldiers must train and fight in bad weather. Proper gear allows soldiers to overcome most weather conditions. With the right clothing and equipment, they can perform in almost any weather. In a similar fashion, we must all have adequate cognitive and emotional gear to weather life's inevitable storms. Psychologist Patrick Sweeney and his colleagues refer to these skills as psychological body armor. I like the way that's put. Positive character traits such as grit, courage, capacity to love, and integrity enable us to overcome obstacles and adversity. Psychological resources, including hardiness, facilitate a resilient outcome versus a pathological outcome in the face of adversity. Third, hope is not a plan. This is one of most commonly used. This is one of the author put. This is one of my favorite military truisms. It is not enough for a general to simply hope that troops will prevail in battle. Hope must be supported by a plan. I emphasize this point to my cadets as they prepare for exams. Simply hoping for a good grade will not produce the desired result. Diligent completion of assigned readings and hours of systemic studying lay the foundation for a good outcome. The relevance of this saying to life in general is clear. Success in all aspects of life depends on proactive planning and preparation. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Hope without planning is a recipe for failure. It is one of the things we hope to live. Is one thing to hope to live a long life. Is another to couple that hope with a good diet, plenty of exercise, wearing your seatbelt, avoiding unhealthy habits like smoking, excessive alcohol, or so forth, and nurturing deep and lasting social relationships. So, yeah, that's kind of important. So let's another interesting thing I read about this. Um, there's another source we looked at. It's resiliency to adversity is important in the role of self-regulation. Okay, so there's a little snippet here. Military service can include numerous adverse events, such as resiliency has been considered as a means to potentially help active duty personnel face adversity and be better prepared for the demands of military service. However, research in military contexts have been hindered by use of disparate conceptualizations, definitions and measures of resiliency. To provide some resolution to these inconsistencies, we use a comprehensive, theoretically based model of resiliency to explore how self regulation processes contributed to soldiers' negative affect and self perceived effectiveness. We hypothesized that self regulation. Oh, wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm sorry. This was. Okay, forget all that. That was not an article I meant to read. So I apologize. My bad. It's been a long day. So
it's all good.
Yeah. So there is another story I want to talk about when you talk about adversity, and it was the story of this guy. I actually came across him about a week and a half ago on, I believe I was watching a Facebook short or something. So this gentleman's name is Army Colonel Khalid Shabazz, and he is the highest ranking Muslim soldier in the American military right now. He's a 06, he's a colonel. He has a very interesting story. So he is actually pretty popular on TikTok because the guy, mind you, this is a chaplain, but if you were to see this guy, he's like 6'2". He's jacked. Like he goes to the gym and he meets a lot of his soldiers in the gym and whatnot. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase basically what he was talking about. So he is kind of interesting because of the fact that most of the people that are on TikTok are under the age of 28. He is been in the military for just shy of 30 years. Okay, so he's a full colonel. He's a Mustang, so he was prior enlisted. Um, so he started off as an enlisted guy um, when he was in the military. Now, before that, there was actually a little bit of family trauma. So as a child, he was molested by a family friend. An experience, he said, that put him in an emotional tailspin and left him an angry young man. He spent eighth grade in special education and he failed ninth and 12th grade. Okay. After completing summer school, he enrolled at Jarvis Christian College in Texas. It's a school that's historically been a historically black school affiliated with the Disciples of Christ. He played basketball and studied with the goal of becoming a minister. He admits that he fell in with the wrong crowd. He began drinking, partying, and often found himself in bad situations. During one of these situations, he was involved in a drunken brawl where he was assaulted, beaten with a shovel, and then shot in the back. He survived thanks to medical people that got him to the right place at the right time, to the hospital and whatnot. He tabled his studies. He went back home to Louisiana, found a job as a janitor at a Kmart. Not really having any good options, he said, "Nah, I'm going to join the military." So it was when he joined the military that he first read the autobiography of Malcolm X, also absorbing the movie starring Denzel Washington when it was released in 1992. He says, quote, "I never considered myself a smart person, and I found a lot to inspire me in his story. Malcolm X had an eighth grade education, but educated himself by reading the dictionary. I hadn't seen a strong African American male like that in my community. I wanted to be educated and to stand for something bigger than myself. So I decided to become like Malcolm, and even took the last name Shabazz in imitation of him." So he joins the military, but didn't really have a good start. It was a lot to handle. Now, mind you, he joined in the 1990s. Okay, so there's not a lot of the culture was very different back then, especially on a religious scale. He faced,
Much.
he faced a lot of adversity. Um,
Nah.
Fell into some bad habits, wrong crowds. He was brought up on charges for insubordination. He even contemplated suicide. It was during this time he met a Christian chaplain. I was getting ready to deploy, possibly to war. I was crying. I saw this chaplain, and I said to myself, if there's a God, please don't have the chaplain come over and talk to me. He says, and then he says, but God had other plans. It was this chaplain who, after talking to Shabazz, encouraged him to pursue a role as a Muslim chaplain. He received a Master of Divinity from Hartford Seminary, which is now known as Hartford University for Religion and Peace. One of the few places that offers programs for people wanting to pursue chaplaincy in Islamic faith. He was commissioned as a chaplain in 1998, and he also studied Arabic in Jordan along the way. And he later attained a master's in interfaith dialogue from Claremont Lincoln University. So he is now a colonel, as I mentioned. He is responsible for tens of thousands of soldiers and oversees a lot of junior chaplains under him. Regardless of whether a chaplain wears a Christian cross, a Muslim crescent, a Jewish Star of David, or another symbol on his uniform, he has to be ready to minister to soldiers of all faiths. He goes on to issues, briefings, and only job is actual religious counseling. So, knowing that, he still continued to study faith. He eventually obtained a doctorate in Christian theology and religious vocations from North Texas Theological Seminary. He believes his experience as a practicing member. Now, this is what I found interesting. He believes his experience as a practicing member of both religions has helped to make him a better chaplain. Quote, "It is easier today to be a Muslim soldier in the army than when I began. There are a lot of more Muslims represented in the military. Beads are allowed now in the army, as are hijabs. Arabic classes are now available." Oh, I'm sorry. Jesus, I said beads. Beards are now allowed in the army, which is there's a few religious exemptions that allow you to do that. If you're
Seek.
Muslim and Sikh, Muslim, and I believe also if you are a believer of Norse religion, which is the Vikings and stuff, you are allowed to grow a beard. So beards are allowed, hijabs, all that stuff. Arabic class are now
The,
available.
the Norse have really?
There was a soldier that I saw. He was in like, funny enough, he was in like the Minnesota Guard, and he has it down that he follows the Norse religion, and part of that is growing a beard. Now this guy kind of looks like Leif Erikson. Now it's not a very thick like Viking-esque beard, but it's enough. But it's like a ginger beard. Like this guy's got like the gingerest leprechaunish looking beard you've ever seen. I'm like, he could have been the damn mascot for the Fighting Irish. It's like,
Did you just say Gingerus leprechaunus?
ginger. I said gingerest leprechaun. Don't put words in my mouth. This isn't a Harry Potter spell. Shut up.
You said Gingerus leprechaunus.
I didn't say leprechaunus. I said gingerest leprechaun beard.
You said
That's what I said.
leprechaunus.
No, I did not. Eat a bag of dicks, bro, macho. Anyway,
there's a website for that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Go ahead.
I almost started naming off like places you could probably look that up. I'm like, nope, let's keep it PG-13 ish. So they also have Friday services, more of an established thing. Some bases even have mosques and even have makeshift musallas for prayer, which is like a pop-up prayer area for people of that faith. His own unlikely success on social media speaks about how times have changed. Former college basketball player, spends long hours at the gym, which offer him a chance to meet soldiers and inspire them in an informal setting. Let's see. There was another couple of points here. So he says, according to Shabazz, there are 5 Muslim chaplains in the Army, 3 in the Air Force, and 1 in the Navy. Shabazz said there is more work to be done. Unlike other faiths, he hasn't encountered any Muslim chaplain assistants, the non-commissioned officers who assist chaplains in their work. He goes on to make some other comments about this, that, and the other. But yeah, I mean, talk about an interesting dude. This guy started off, I believe in another article I read, he started off as a field artillery guy. Got in trouble and then just decided to turn around. He's got a doctorate, he's got a master's, and this is a guy who was like probably getting ready to get washed out of the military for a lot of different damn reasons. And here he is, like, not something exactly you'd compare, you'd say for a chaplain, but he's killing it. Like, good for you, man. Like, shit. It's all good, man. So yeah, I mean, adversity and more, and the counterpart of it. So if you're looking at like a yin and a yang, part of that is adversity. The other part of it would be resiliency.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the things that I learned very well. Resiliency is just, no matter what happens, getting your face knocked in the mud, getting pushed down into the dirt, like you just keep up, you drive on, you keep going. All those little euphemisms and shit about this and that and the other and all that kind of crap. I mean, there's a reason why they're a little bit goofy, but on the other hand, it's like they kind of work. There's a reason why people keep saying that stuff. So it is what it is. But, adversity comes in a lot of different forms. I mean, it can be in high school, like when you have to, you're competing for different things. I mean, adversity is good. You have opponents and stuff. It's not everybody's, getting a participation trophy. If you only get second or third place, if you can go out there and say, I tried my hardest, I didn't get the top spot, good. That's adversity, but that's also a life lesson and that's a natural learning point. So it's like, that's good. I think that's kind of some of the things that kids nowadays need to see is like, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and participation trophies. You need to understand that like adversity will kind of kick your butt a little bit, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So the last thing was another article I read. It was off of the Army's website, army.mil. It was written by a guy who's a chaplain candidate. It's kind of funny how the whole adversity thing somehow just became very intrinsically linked to, religion and chaplains and all that kind of stuff. So there's this guy here. He's talking about, and it's funny too how both these guys being in the religious field of being in a chaplain program in the military, how like these guys' stories are kind of like crazy. So here's a guy. Um, he talks about, he goes, I'm a non-combatant being a chaplain. I do not carry a weapon. I am armed with a weapon. I'm armed with a cannon that has 66 books in it, and it's called the Bible. It's what I carry with me wherever I go, in my heart and in my hands. That's because I use it to support my mission. He goes, I was born and raised in, funny enough, I was born and raised in St. Pete, Florida. Last of 4 kids, the baby of the group, was raised by my mother. My dad lived about 10 minutes away from my mom and I usually only saw him about once a year. Did live in the best of neighborhoods. My neighborhood was a rough neighborhood. I was lucky enough to be insulated just because on my street we had a bunch of older people who made sure that the drugs and crime didn't come in our street. I should have been a statistic. I'm black, raised by a single parent, young, male, surrounded by trouble. I should be a statistic. In my work as a civilian, I'm Jesus. Hold on.
My name is Mac, and I have mush mouth.
You're not exactly wrong there, pal. I got dry mouth like a son of a bitch. Anyway, in my work as a civilian, I'm also a chaplain for the county sheriff's office. So he works for Pinellas.
Yeah.
Day in and day out, when I visit inmates, do you know what I see? They just look at me. I realize that I could have easily been in their shoes, but for the grace of God. Here I am, not a statistic, but I'm an exception to the rule. So he goes on and he talks about different things. And, he's like, how are leaders born or are they made? And he goes, with in some capacity, everyone is born with some capacity to lead, but it's only through adversity and their capacity can become reality. So he talks about 4 lessons to help you be the leader that are formed through adversity. Lesson number 1, stay ready. During a conversation with a friend of mine, she shared with me that her friend during prayer had received a strong impression on her heart to prepare, but she wasn't sure what she was preparing for. After a few months, she found out that she discovered Hurricane Irma would be coming through. It was then that she realized why she was getting ready. The hurricane was about to hit. People were scrambling for gas and food and supplies, but she already had her stuff covered. But you don't just stay ready for storms of adversity. You need to stay ready for success. Success doesn't happen. So you're in school and you've been studying your math work, really committed to understanding the material and putting aside all the things that might distract you. You know that there will be a test at some point, but you don't know when it's coming. All of a sudden, pop quiz, your classmates get surprised, but you've been preparing and you get an A. So stay ready. Number 2, stay rooted. When Hurricane Irma hit, I decided to take my family north away from the path of the storm because I didn't know what was going to happen. After the storm passed, we returned to our home. When we arrived, we saw debris in our yard. We decided to walk around the neighborhood to see the damage sustained in our area. As we walked, I noticed the different trees. Some trees were blown over by the wind. Some trees stood firm. As we continued walking, I began to consider why some trees that looked really strong had fallen while others stood seemingly unaffected. It was the same wind, the same rain, the same hurricane. The difference was that the trees stood firm that were deeply rooted. Doesn't matter what size a tree is. If it's deeply rooted, it can weather the storm. The 3rd lesson, stay resilient. To be resilient means you're able to bounce back. Think about a rubber band. If you pull a rubber band, you stretch it. Then you let it go, it bounces back to its original form. The ability to bounce back from perceived failures or adversity or whatever life throws at you is the meaning of being resilient. So I'm walking around the neighborhood and I see trees that were blown down, but there were also other trees. The trees stood firm and stayed rooted, but they broke. The trees weren't flexible. They weren't resilient. They couldn't bend with the wind and the rain. So there's that. And he goes on, and I've heard this slightly
That
different.
Irma was a bitch.
Yeah, it was. It was a bad one. That's the one that kind of went down there and messed up Puerto Rico, right?
No, that was Maria right after it. Irma came right up the spine of the state.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I've quoted a poem called Attitude by Charles Swindoll, and it's one that my grandfather used to read. This one, the numbers are a little bit different, but it's kind of the same thing. So in the the poem Attitude by Charles Swindoll, the last line is, I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Yeah.
So this gentleman writing this
The
article, the
show.
chaplain, he says, I live by the 595 rule. What I mean is that life is 5% what happens to you and 90% your response to what happens to you. So, I mean, numbers are a little bit different, but kind of the same idea. Okay. So he says, lesson number 4, stay hopeful. Hope is knowing that things are going to get better. No matter what you are going through, know that things are going to get better. Life is not always going to be like it is at its roughest points. When I was young and got to spend a little time with my dad, it was usually November, and we would go to Georgia to visit my grandmother. She would cook Thanksgiving dinner for us, and I loved watching my grandmother cook, especially desserts, because I had a real sweet tooth. I would sit in the kitchen with her, watch her make desserts all morning. She could take a bowl out, crack a bunch of eggs in the bowl, and she'd pour milk in there, sugar in it, she'd pour flour. After she dumped in all the ingredients, she'd mix it all up in a bowl. As a kid, it looked like a big gross mess. Then she'd take the mix, pour it into a pan, hop it in the oven, and then after a little while, the sweet aroma would start to fill the house, and it would just be an awesome cake. Just like the mess in the bowl, some of you have had a lot of messes thrown at you in your life. Some of you can look at the lives right now and believe you're in the middle of a mess, and it's hard to understand what's going on. What you need to know is that when all the mess comes together, it is shaping you and making you to the leader that you're supposed to be. So there's that. So, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, bro?
Honestly,
I know I
just
kind of did most of the talking there, so
yeah, the honestly, at the end of the day, I mean, this really comes down to I'm going to speak to you know the video I posted not too long ago. I again, it's when it comes to adversity, or adversity is there. Um, as someone who as someone of the faith like myself, um, I see it as you know adversity comes your way not just to test you, but it comes to reinforce you know reinforce good habit. It is also there to shape you. It's there to mold you like clay. um from my perspective, I see it as God coming in, and you know I'm going through a mess, but he's going to pull me through it, and at the end of it I'm going to be all right. you know for those of you who don't believe in for those of you who don't believe in God, um the for those of you who don't believe in God, think I guess you would say it's just a part of life. The things that happen to us are just a part of life, and we're dealing with it, and we just have to learn to tough it out and move on. Also, for those of my spiritualists out there, um for you would probably be, oh, the universe is making me go through this, and I'm bringing in the energy that the universe does this whatever, blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, the adversity we go through is meant to shape us. It's meant to make us better. We go through what we go through not only to experience horrible things sometimes, not all the time obviously, but we go through it so that we can see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's a way of testing our metal, if you will. Sharpening sword by sword. You know what I mean? Steel against steel. Making yourself tougher so that when real adversity comes, you can learn how to help others pull through. You can learn how to help others because you have experienced the same adversity in some way, shape, or fashion.
yeah.
Um, So, you know, at the end of the day, this episode was really about kind of speaking to the people that listen to the show, kind of speaking to our listeners out there and new listeners alike. letting you guys know that
All five of you, all five of the listeners out there.
all five of the listeners, yeah, basically,
Just kidding.
um, that essentially, you're not alone in the things that you're going through. Um, I mentioned this not too long ago. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the episode. I think I went enough detail um, on the Facebook. Um, I almost made a mistake that could have been far more permanent than anybody would ever know. Um, and it's one of those things that you got to learn to deal, and you got to learn to reach out. Everyone goes through some kind of adversity. Everyone has been through something. And when the whole thing is, when you think you're alone, you're actually not. So you gotta reach out to your supports. You gotta reach out to your support. You gotta bring them in. You can't, you know, uh, you can't keep them out. I told Mac as soon as I was able. Um, did he tell me he was going to give me a quick, swift, quick kick in the ass? Yeah, of course he did. But it's all from a
It,
place
it
of
would
love.
have been quick because I probably would have pulled a hammy or something. So
Also true. Um, but it came from
what you mean also true? Shut up, dude. We're talking about you here. I just added a little bit of humor, and you're like, "Yeah, you old bastard."
a um,
Douche.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's all from a place of love, man. And
Of course.
that's that's honestly where we're trying to that's honestly what we're trying to achieve here. So if in some way, shape, or form what we say here on the show doesn't matter, civilian, law enforcement, and our
First
military,
responder, firefighter, EMT,
first
all you
responder,
guys.
yeah, military brethren alike. um, if what we say here on our show speaks to you, all the better. If it makes you reach out to friends of yours, all the better. If it makes you reach out to us on our social medias, that some way, shape, or form, you say, hey, guys, I'm not doing too well. Is there anything that you could say? Like, hey, I'd be more than glad, especially after recently, to jump on a Facebook Messenger or whatever to just kind of talk things out with you and say, hey man, look, there's more to this. um just is what it is.
Yeah.
Adversity is universal. Adversity is kind of an unfortunate reality for us as human beings. We are imperfect beings on an imperfect planet, in an imperfect universe. There's only one perfect being, and that's the Lord God Himself. Um, Everything is meant to degrade. Everything is meant to die. And you know, it's up to us to for us. It's up to us to kind of shape our part in that grand design that He has made for us. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah.
So you know, don't deny anybody that. Don't deny anybody, you know, the gift of yourself, of being able to bring joy to someone, or being able to lighten someone's day, and just by simply telling them a prayer, telling them a helpful word. You know what I mean? Because we all go through stuff.
And that word is dope.
Bada bing.
My dude right here is one of the dopest people I know. And, you know, he may have forgotten it for a minute, but he knows he can call me at any time. And that's kind of what we're going at.
Yeah.
So, the final thing I want to say about adversity is kind of, I want to just kind of reflect on something that happened to me a while back. Nothing bad. It's just kind of a point of reflection. So, I'm sitting around talking with um, some acquaintances of mine, a guy and his wife, and their 2 kids. And the kids were asking me, they're like, "Hey, if you could go back in time and change something about your past, what would you change and why?" So they went around the table and the kids explained, mind you, they're younger. So, it's like something here. Oh, I would have been, one of the first to get this video game or whatever the case may be. And then, um, the dad said, I believe he said something along the lines of, if I could go back in time and with what I know
I
now.
got you, sis. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Call your sister, by the way. Sorry, I forgot. But the dad was like, if I could go back in time with what I know now, that might be different. So they got around the table to me. They said, what would you change? I said, honestly, I wouldn't change anything. And here's the reason for that. I wouldn't change anything, good or bad, because what has happened in my life, good and bad, has made me the man I am today.
Correct.
And if you want to use the example of, the multiverse and Spider-Man and all that stuff, you change one thing in the past or change this, the next thing you know, it goes and affects a whole bunch of other shit in the future. So
Yitter.
I may not have everything in the world. I mean, maybe certain things I could have that would improve my life. But I'm still here. I have a lot of great things. I have this guy right here who is side by side with me every single show that we've done, to go on here and to do something that is just remarkable. That when he first brought it up, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do with this. Like, are you serious? Like, and he's like, dude, they sent a monkey to space. It can't be that hard. I'm like, okay, sold me. So, but I pretty much, to finish the story, the recollection of the story, I said I wouldn't go back and change anything because good, bad, or other, I'm happy with who I am. The bad stuff has helped shape me into the person I am today. The unfortunate things have shaped me into the man I am today. But if I could do anything, I would go back and I would just relive those moments, like, the joy of seeing my daughter being born. Saying goodbye to my dad the last time, relive, go back through and go to senior prom again, like, because that was fun, shit like that. Just, and I thought about all these different moments, like, graduating basic training and all these other things. I would just go back and I would just revel in the moment itself and just live through those moments, to feel those emotions again, to experience it again. I wouldn't change anything. So, and please understand, folks, you're not going to get these sage wise moments out of me all the time. It was just, it's kind of funny how what we do to having this podcast, I can understand the motivations of like a pastor or a minister at a church. It's like you're writing a sermon and then these little things happen and they just happen to fill into these gaps of what you're talking about. And you're like, oh, yeah, I see what you did there. Looking out. So that's kind of like, that was the final thing I wanted to get. It just seemed very poignant and for what we're talking about tonight. So on that note, this is where we start wrapping up the show. With what we just talked about, it's important to remember where we started. So we started this podcast when a friend of ours unfortunately went down a similar road that Alamo went down here. And unfortunately, he drove to the end of the road. And
Yeah.
he chose to make to solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution. So this is our show is a living memorial. Every time that we do a show, we keep his memory alive because of how great of a guy he was. He was just a great dude. Loved to laugh. Just some of the moments I just talked about, some of them I would go back, even when he just goes, oh, and does that kind of shit, I would go back and live those moments again. When I'm standing there looking at the security cameras, what is he talking about? And he climbed up a ladder like a spider monkey. Just
Bam!
Like, bam! Like, I was just like, motherfucker, I can't say shit because I got customers in front of me. son of a bitch. And they just turn around, just his laugh through the window. I was like, I would go back and I would love to relive that moment again, just because he was a square dude, man. He was a good guy.
He
So
was a freaking riot, man.
he was, yeah, he was a force of nature, man. He was just a fucking solid dude, man. So, but in his memory and in his honor, we have this show, and we were thinking about, what can we do to help people that are going through a rough time, to keep them in the fight, to keep them going a little bit further and a little bit farther. So we came up with the Bros Code, and the Bros Code is just our little, mantra that we use when things get rough. Remember these 4 tenets of the Bros Code, and things aren't really going to be, that bad and stuff. So the first one, be tenacious. No matter what you do in life, go out and do it to the fullest. It's like a great meme I saw that somebody sent to me. It's like, don't half-ass 2 things.
Whole
Whole-ass
ass
one
one.
thing. I think it was Ron Swanson type of thing. It was either that. I think it was that. So, but yeah, go, and when you do something in life, whether it's your job, whether it's your relationship, whether it's being a parent, whether it's, being a college student, whatever the case may be, go out and give it your fullest ability. Okay. Don't take it for granted. Enjoy the process. Do it to the fullest and the best of your abilities to do so. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay. So be tenacious. Just remember that. R, refuse to surrender. This is something that kind of hits a little bit closer to home this week because of what we talked about. So, I'm glad you didn't refuse there, buddy. I really am. And like, I love you. I'm here for you. So, I'm glad you didn't surrender. You refused to. So now we pick up, fucking carry on and drive on. So, there's going to be things in life, as I'm sure you've mentioned in our discussion tonight, things that get you sideways, things that get you a little bit twisted, get you off course, get you adrift in the seas of chaos and all this stuff. That's fine. Stay the course, stay true. I mean, look at that imam that we were talking about. He refused to surrender. He went and became a Muslim chaplain. Now he is the highest ranking guy. He got shot in the back twice. He was contemplated suicide. He was going to get thrown out. Had 2 Article 15 started chapter paperwork for insubordination twice. And here he is. And now that's an amazing story. Refuse to surrender. Stay the course, stay true, go from there. Okay. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. There's, like you said, sometimes there's going to be those things that come up, whether it's a barrier, whether it's, an obstacle, a hurdle, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you need to get around them. Sometimes you have to outmaneuver them. Sometimes you have to flank them. Sometimes you got to go over the wall, around the wall. Sometimes you got to dig under it. Sometimes you got to swim the moat. Sometimes you got to blow some shit down with some Bangalores and C4. Okay, cool. Do what you got to do and continue to drive on to the OBJ. That's all what's important. Okay? Obliterate your obstacles, no matter what they look like, whatever shape or form they come in. I was, again, I'm having one of those moments. So it's funny. I was watching. If only you people, and for those of you out there that know, that have had the experience of knowing John and knowing how funny he was.
Yeah.
Alamo does that laugh spot on. Number 1, number 2, like it conjures up so many good memories. But obliterate your obstacles. And it was funny because last weekend I had a movie marathon with my daughter, and we watched the first 2 Ghostbusters because I just saw when I was flying home, I saw Afterlife. So I'm like, oh, I think she would like the Afterlife movie. So we watched the first 2. Obliterate your obstacles, even if it's a fucking 100-foot tall marshmallow man. Okay, the choice has been made. Choose and perish.
That choice has been made.
Yes.
Choose
I didn't
and
choose anything.
perish.
I couldn't help it. It just popped in there. So even if your obstacle's a fucking 100-foot tall marshmallow man, roast that bastard. Whatever you got to do. Such a great. So, lastly, and probably the most important is seek out a friend in time of need. Okay. as we talked about earlier with young Mr. Alamo over here, middle-aged Mr. Alamo.
Who's counting?
Whatever, dude. It's all good. There's times
I
when
feel like I'm 21.
shut up.
No.
Anyway, there's times when you have to seek people out and you need somebody to talk to, if and a lot of veterans or a lot of people out there, first responders, that kind of stuff, it can be difficult because you talk to people about something they're unfamiliar to, a lifestyle or a profession or
Yeah.
whatnot. It's hard for folks in like firefighter, paramedics, EMTs to talk about the kind of stuff they go through because people are just looking and they're just like, because they're not going to understand all the gory and the dark seated humor and the sarcasm that comes with that. So,
Mhm.
especially for guys, like I said, guys in the military, who better to understand that than people you served with? I mean, if you
Yeah.
can reach out to your old battle buddies, your old unit partners, and your unit buddies and whatnot, do that. Reach out because who better than them is going to understand? If you don't have anybody that you can talk to and you're in a serious need of talking to somebody, there's always options. So in the past, now this just recently changed while I was on my work trip. So we used to give you the 800 number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which no longer exists. Okay. It used to be 1-800-273-8255, but they have since changed that to now 3-digit prefix, which is 988. Okay. And that
Mhm.
is still going to get you in touch with somebody.
So
988
yes.
will help you get in touch with folks. You can call or text to get a hold of somebody, which I think is
Ooh,
amazing. That's
fun
very good.
fact, by the way. Fun fact,
What's
by
up?
the way. In my recent, my one of my recent checkups with my psychiatrist, um, 1-800-273-8255 is still active,
Oh,
and it will
really?
be
Oh,
for some time. 988 is just simply kind of like the VA's version of 911.
okay.
Emergency for an emergency. You know?
Fair enough. Okay, so you have two options now. So either one of those, and I imagine they're not just going to cut one off clean, cold turkey, and just
Nah.
so yeah, there's going to be a transition. So, but yeah, there's resources out there, folks. If you don't have a family member, a loved one, a buddy of yours from the military or your job or something that you can reach out to and talk. You got two options now. You have 1-800-273-8255, or you can go and hit the numbers 988, and that'll get you in touch with somebody. You can call, you can text, whatever you got to do. Get out and read a hold of somebody. Um, we don't want to have this epidemic of the 22 veterans a day committing suicide continue. That's
Yeah.
one is too many, and 22 is just dreadful. So we want to
Yeah.
stop that, and not
I
to
saw.
not to keep not to keep pounding an issue. I'm just glad you didn't become one of those 22, brother. So
Yeah, me too. And I saw a. It was a video from. I don't remember what veteran related. What you call it though, but they had a video and like they basically showed a video of like the graph of like the statistic of from like 2001 all the way till now how much it's increased, and then it's just kind of started steadying out as it's reached now, but it's still going higher. Yeah,
as
it's
long as it's not like you're not looking at the line and thinking it's like a parabola where it's like whoop, and it
oh
just
yeah,
goes up. So
from like 2000, I think from 2003 2005 it just went
very
and then
sharp
it's
incline.
and
Yeah.
then it started steadying out as it got closer. It's still going up though,
Yeah.
even though it kind of steadied out.
So just to kind of recap, folks, remember, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek out help in a time of need. If you can remember those four things, man, you'll keep yourself around, you keep yourself in the fight, and anybody, veteran or first responder wise, hell, just regular human beings. You have a story that needs to be told. Tell it to people. Let them know who you are and what you're about and all that
Yes.
good shit. So that's all I got. Alamo is going to plug all the social media stuff, and then we've got a couple of happy announcements to end out the show. So why don't you plug all the social media stuff here, Bucko?
So, if you want to go ahead and get in contact with us, you can do that over at the Facebook at facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. You can also do that at the Instagram at battlebros_podcast. You can also communicate with us via our Gmail, which is battlebropc@gmail.com. You can throw
Battle
suggestions.
Bros. There's an S there.
Battle what?
Battle Bros. You said Battle Bro PC.
Battle Bros.
Thank you. I don't know why we're talking all weird shit, but whatever.
But yeah, battlebrospc@gmail.com. Also, if you're one of those Facebook users that kind of is on there almost all the time, you have the option of using the WhatsApp link directly on our Facebook page to go ahead and message or voice message us directly, and we can get back to you within the 24-hour period. We will always answer within 24 hours, and that is a promise. Also, if you want to catch us on any of the audio platforms, you can catch us over on the Anchor. You can catch us on the blah, 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 blah. Why am I having a brain fart?
Because the whole show, we should just call it the Brain Fart Show. I mean, come on. That's why I have a brain fart. Are you shit me? Come on. Come on, dude.
Yeah. you can,
Really, bro?
you can catch
Really?
us on Spotify. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Amazon
And
Music.
this
And
is
we're still waiting on that video of somebody finding us on Amazon and saying,
Alexa, play the Battle Bros
play the
podcast.
Battle Bros podcast.
Somebody
Oh,
sends
you
that
can-
video, you get an automatic shout out and admiration and a little bit of hero
Damn
worship
right.
from these two clowns right here.
Castbox, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher.
It's about this time where he starts giggling in that high pitched voice. You know that the cookie has started to crumble. So
That's right. Also, you can find us on, other than YouTube, therumble.com. Rumble is our one of the newer platforms that's starting to kind of try and be a competition with YouTube. If you get us enough views on that platform, we will actually start getting paid. So we can make some green. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and check us out on the Rumble as well. Rumble actually once we start getting more views, we'll actually start playing, and suggesting our videos far more often as well. The YouTube algorithm has gotten a little funky, so if you guys want to help us out, and I mean like really help us out, share the videos. Share the videos to anyone and everyone you know. Get us those views. Make YouTube recognize us and share us. And also recommend us to other listeners. So that way we can get the message spread more further. Also, if you want to support the show, you can do that over on the Anchor app or over on anchor.fm, where you can find the Battle Bros podcast page. Go down to under our description bar where you find the little support button. Click that support button, and you can go ahead and donate a custom, or you can donate any kind of listed donation that you find right there on the page. And that, other than the other announcement I have, is all I got for that. On that note,
so let me do mine first.
Yard.
A good friend of ours, a good friend Jose and his wife Kristen, they live up in North Georgia, and I'm not going to say where, just so you don't go bugging them because they're nice people.
Yes.
They just bought a house together. So congrats to Jose and Kristen. We're happy for you. Get that welcome mat out because I'm going to show up. Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So, congrats to you guys. I know it's been a little bit of a process. So
long time coming, my man.
Long time coming. Many blessings to your new house and your family. from your extended family. So congrats to you guys, and we love you. So hope to see you soon. So your turn.
So here at the Battle Bros podcast, we necessarily haven't had too many things that we've been able to kind of really call our own. We're
Wait,
working
whoa,
on our
whoa,
logo.
whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, it's a work in progress, dude.
It is a work in progress, yes.
Let's calm it down.
We haven't really come down with a logo yet. We're working on it. It's there. We're almost finished with it. And we're going to have it printed out, hopefully, on some shirts and also some tumblers that we're going to be able to sport on the show.
Get some merch going there, folks. Yeah.
But
How about that?
I will say one thing that we haven't had until now has been a mascot. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce him here on the show right now.
This is the mascot. He's also the newest member of the team. So I found out about it, and I was pretty damn stoked. I still haven't met him in person yet, but yeah, it's going to be pretty damn awesome. So it's all good. Dun dun dun
Ladies and
dun dun
gentlemen, it is
dun
now
dun.
officially time to introduce
dun.
Battle Bow.
What a pup.
Say hello to Battle Bow, everybody, aka Bo. Hey, buddy.
You know,
This
we're going to have to
is going
put
to
this
be our
dog's
buddy.
cute mug on a damn t-shirt and sell it.
Oh, you damn right. Look at him. He's got the big blue eyes, ain't you, puppy? Don't you?
Just wait for him
Look
to
at that puppy.
just attack your nose and shit. That'd be great.
Wow.
It's all good.
Bo will be joining us at any kind of events that me and Mac plan. And yes, we are planning events. Me and Mac have been discussing it actually for the last 4 or so months.
Conceptual phase. We got some stuff going on. So
that's right. So be prepared for events and be prepared for this guy right here to be joining us there. You get right, Bo. Oh, the puppy. I love you, buddy.
It's a good looking pup, man. That's awesome.
Staffordshire Terrier, blue nose.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So,
with that being said, folks, that's our show for this evening and for this weekend. Unfortunately, like I said, you know, work kind of had to take a little bit of a priority there.
Yes.
That being said, now that's over, I'm glad to be back. I'm happy to be back. And it's like the Aerosmith song, back in the saddle again. So we're going to finish out this season strong. We've got about 6 more episodes. You know, got a couple of different ideas. Thanks, Cynthia. I know I'm pretty cute. Oh, wait. You're talking about the dog. Damn it. Yeah, you're right. You're a sucker for them blue eyes. That's what it is. That's what it is. Anyway, so we got about 6 episodes left in our second season. We're going to end it at episode 44 will be our last one. So we've got about 6 left. We have some ideas about what we're going to talk about. Not exactly sure what order or how that's going to look, but it's still going to be some good content. So please continue to check us out. If you came for the first time and liked what you saw, great. We're still new. We're still growing. So tell your friends about it. It might not be you that needs to hear the message. It might need to be somebody else. Later, Cynthia, love you. He will call you sometime soon. If he doesn't, you let me know and I'll handle that shit. But like I said, we're going to have, 6 good episodes. Oh, stop. She even said I was cute. So just know that, we're going to be busting our butts to finish out this season strong like we always do. Until we see you folks again, we want to thank you for joining us for episode 038, talking about adversity. Thanks for stopping by, giving us a look or a listen, whether depending on the mobile or the platform you're looking at us on. We appreciate you guys for helping to keep things humble and keeping things on the level. If you need something, you know where to get a hold of us. But until then, this is the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. We're signing off. We'll see you guys next week. And until then, just remember, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek help in time of need. Until then, we see you guys soon, and we love you and we thank you. And that's all we got for right now. So, as you were.
Battle Bros out.
Take it easy.